Welcome, esteemed colleagues. We are starting the working day from the traditional press briefing of the Speaker of the ATO, Anatoliy Stelmakh. Now I would like to invite the acting Speaker of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Vladyslav Seleznyov. I do hope that we will be able to talk to Anatoliy Stelmakh. Maybe there will be interruptions. Maybe he will have to leave because the situation is very tense there. But in any case, we have a video with his information. Thank you. I would like to inform you about the following. Today, the Deputy Minister of Defense of Ukraine, the head of the apparatus, Petro Mekhed, will have the meeting with the representatives of the World Congress of Ukrainians, headed by Yevgen Chely. The World Congress of Ukrainians is an international NGO which has the special consultative status in Economic and Social Council of the UN and unites Ukrainian diasporas in 34 countries with the total number of exceeding 20 million Ukrainians. And the parties will discuss the cooperation on the implementation of memorandum on cooperation between the World Congress of Ukrainians and Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine on material technical support to the armed forces of Ukraine in conditions of strengthening Russian aggression, and also humanitarian support of the armed forces of Ukraine by the World Congress of Ukrainians and coordination of cooperation between the Congress and armed forces of Ukraine in the sphere of counteraction to information influence of the enemy. Tomorrow, the Minister of Defense, General Colonel Stepan Poltorak, will meet the Ambassador of Japan to Ukraine, Shigeki Sumi. During this fourth stage of mobilization in Ukraine, in the training centers of the armed forces of Ukraine, the training of servicemen continues. Officers, sergeant majors, sergeants, and soldiers of reserves improved their professional skills during the classes on tactical, special, firing, engineering, training, topography, and other military disciplines. With that, 80% of the training time is dedicated to practical lessons. And the classes last for 12 hours a day. The mobilized servicemen work on the actions in defense and offense, execute tactical tasks alone and as part of the group, and hit the targets from different types of firearms. On all the issues on military service and the armed forces of Ukraine, the servicemen who are enrolled in relation with mobilization and members of their families can call hotline of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine 044-454-4451. Or to military service of the Armed Forces of Ukraine to Kiev number 454-7308. Main Department of the Personnel of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine 044-226-2360, and also Department of Social and Humanitarian Policy of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine 044-454-4337. Besides, the explanations on issues of mobilization are made public on the official web portal of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine in the section actual. It's to the attention of servicemen who are enrolled during mobilization. All the questions related to illegal detention by militants of Ukrainian servicemen in the ministry of, all these questions can be answered by the representative of the working group on the phone number 044-545-7315. The armed forces of Ukraine continue to receive humanitarian assistance from the country's partners, the assistance of which is to help restore territorial integrity and stability in Ukraine. Another medical humanitarian transport came to Dnipropetrovsk Military Hospital from France, which includes the beds, monitors, equipment for surgeries and ultrasound diagnosis, and the X-ray machine. That is the sixth transport that arrived to Dnipropetrovsk from France, together with the medical assistance. The gifts for wounded are in this transportation. Last week, the French partners transferred to the hospital 60 functional beds, electric stimulator, the artificial breathing device, trolleys, medical furniture, and so on. That was distributed between medical hospital and the two city hospitals. There will be about 60,000 packages of painkillers also supplied by one of the French companies, and also Austrian and French surgeons will arrive to Ukraine to conduct complicated surgeries. Besides, we expect the supply from Germany of about 10 reanimobiles. Part of that will be transferred to Dnipropetrovsk region. A working group of the representatives of armed forces of the U.S. arrived to the Academy of Land Forces in Lviv. During the meeting with the management of the academy, the American specialists discussed the possibilities of training of the National Guard of Ukraine and instructors of the training centers of armed forces of Ukraine. During the week, the working group is planning to look at the places of training and social infrastructure. The whole infrastructure of the test field will be involved into that work. The training of servicemen will start in spring and will include 3 stages of lessons. These were the news for the last 24 hours. Now I would like to give the floor to Anatoliy Stelmakh, the Speaker of the General Staff of Anti-Terrorist Operation, which is in Kramatorsk. Good morning. So what was happening during the last 24 hours in the ATO zone? The situation in the zone of ATO is still very complicated. At night, from 10th to 11th of February, the terrorists shelled the positions of Ukrainian forces 27 times. This night, the most number of shellings were registered in Lugansk direction. The Girske, Novotoshkivske, Vilhove, Stanica Luganska were shelled at by the artillery and the salvo systems. And the bandits were 3 times shelling from Grad systems from the side of Russian Federation and the direction of Verkhnya Vilhova. The activity of militants continues in the Baltsevsky direction. At night, 3 times they were shelling the Baltsevo. Besides, Popasna Zolota Luganska also were hit. In Mariupolsky direction, twice there were shellings at Pavlopol and Novoselivka. In response, our artillery shelled. In the result of such shellings, the enemy had serious losses. During the last 24 hours, 87 militants were killed and 42 pieces of military technique equipment were eliminated, out of which there were 12 tanks, 14 grad systems, and 16 armored machines. Now, some more information from Vlad, the figures, and then we will proceed with questions, answers. So also during the 24 hours, illegal armed groups were shelling 107 times at the positions of the ATO and at the settlements which are in the zone which is under control of ATO. They were shelling at our positions which are located near 40 settlements and near Mohyla Ostra. In the result of the shellings and in the result of the clashes, Ukraine lost 19 servicemen, including 17 representatives of the armed forces of Ukraine and 2 of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. 78 servicemen were wounded, and they are now in the medical institutions. As of now, we have in the hospitals 591 servicemen. Out of them, 26 are seriously wounded. According to the updated information, 204 servicemen are in captivity in the result of the shellings at the residential quarter of Kramatorsk. 15 peaceful citizens were killed and 63 were wounded. According to the preliminary information, the militants were using 4 Smerch systems against peaceful citizens of Kramatorsk and also Ukrainian servicemen. And they were shelling from the region of Gorlivka, most probably from the settlement Yesenivka. The terrorists were using cassette ammunition, which is prohibited by Geneva Convention. Ukraine is following international law in Geneva Convention that is not using such type of ammunition. In accordance with the intelligence data, Russian Federation is planning information events to blame armed forces of Ukraine. Ukrainian authorities request the citizens to be careful and do not follow the provocations of the state aggressor. Can we have Anatoly back on the screen? Your questions, please. One plus one TV channel, Vladyslav. The events of January certified that our military were not ready to active military offense of the militants, and that is why we lost Donetsk airport, Vuglegirsk, and the question is why, during the period of so-called truce, these positions were not ready to that. There were no fortifications constructed which would allow to maintain these positions. Allow me not to agree with your opinion, Evgen, because near Donetsk airport, the forces of ATO had very powerful counter-diversive operation, in the result of which we took under control Pieski, we got Tanenka and the crossroad, which allows us, with the help of artillery, to keep the territory of Donetsk airfield under control. As I understand, your main what you mean? This is the question. It's related to the fact that the armed forces of Ukraine left the territory of New Terminal in Donetsk airport as of today in the result of the shellings at our positions, which were located on the territory of New Terminal. The structure of the New Terminal is such that it is very dangerous to be there, and it is impossible to guard it because it's absolutely ruined. To preserve lives of people and to execute all the tasks and to keep control over the Donetsk airfield, the decision was made, and the ATO went to the line of the settlements, Opetnataninki and Piski, and that is where the strongholds are and where the units are located, which ensure the control over the territory of Donetsk airfield. But the information which the representatives of another side of the conflict are talking about, they say that they control the territory of Donetsk airport. It is not true, because as of today on the territory of Donetsk airport, there are no units of the militants there. What about the operation of counterattack, which was taking place on the 17th of January? Who was developing it? Who was conducting it? Is it considered to be successful? The operation, which was planned for the 17th to 25th of January, and the task of that was to unblock the Ukrainian Kibbutz. This operation was executed partially. The zone of control was enlarged around the Donetsk airport, but the negative thing is that the territory of new terminal was not preserved under our control, but there are subjective and objective reasons to that. And what was happening in Vuglogirsk, why we had very limited garrison, the group of experts who are conducting the investigation, and they will give answers to these questions, because in this section of the line of clash, the militants concentrated a lot of military equipment, personnel, and ammunition, and they were hitting with all the forces they had. Only thanks to the operative reaction of our forces, we managed to keep the situation, to maintain the situation. In this section also, the artillery units which were covering the actions of our troops, we managed to take away the units of the Ministry of the Interior out of there without any losses. Are there any conclusions made after the events in Vuglogirsk? Are there any fortifications constructed on the territory controlled by our military to prevent similar events? Taking into account the fact that the situation near the Baltsevsky Platsdarm stronghold is very dynamic, the militants continue to press on our positions, and there are many settlements and many checkpoints and strongholds which are near Chernuhina, Nikishin, Ritkadub, and other settlements which are near the Baltseva now. We are maneuvering the forces, and that is all done to not to allow the militants to move forward and to occupy our territories. Reuters agency, is there any information about the shelling at the auto station in Donetsk? I don't have this information as of now. Maybe my colleagues from Kramatorsk can inform you about that in more detail, but the principal position is but when those people which are on the other side of the barricades are saying that Ukrainian side is shelling at the settlements, at the positions of the militants which are located in places where the peaceful citizens are. So we are not doing that. If they say that we were shelling at the autobus station in Donetsk, that information is not true, because that is impossible. Any other questions? Anatoly, if you have information on the shelling of the bus station, now I can confirm the words of Vladyslav. The principal position of Ukrainian military is to preserve the lives and health of peaceful citizens. All the settlements in Donetsk are in the zone of in such a zone where Ukrainian artillery can shell, but we are not shelling. Please tell us about the situation in Kramatorsk, Anatoly. What's there now? As of now, the situation is still stable. During the night and morning, there were no shellings, but our forces are ready. We are ready to repel any attack of the enemy. The president went there. Was there any meeting there with the president? The president looked at Kramatorsk. He talked to wounded people, and we expect to have the results of the negotiations, peaceful negotiations. And please tell us, we know that yesterday, as of yesterday night, there were 15 people killed, 63 wounded. Have these figures changed? In accordance to the press service, the information on the killed people and wounded people is provided by my colleague Vladyslav. So what Vladyslav said, his figures coincide with mine. Thank you. We pray for you. The whole Ukraine is supporting you. So see you tomorrow morning. The next briefing on the situation in ATO zone will take place today at 12:30. In 20 minutes, there will be the briefing of the head of the press service of the State Service on Emergency Situations.